As a spiritual practitioner, the number one thing I do to keep myself safe and my readings accurate is smudging. It is what ended up leading me down the spiritual path, and I'll get into that towards the end of this module. But for now, I do want to highlight the most important thing before you get started smudging is making sure that you have a working fire extinguisher and that you know how to use it and you know exactly where it is. Because we are burning things, there is a chance that things could go weird really quickly. And I have some really funny stories to possibly share about things like that. But I want to just get right started into why smudge, why we smudge, where it came from. It's a largely Native American practice, and it's something that they have been doing for thousands and thousands of years. The smoke is thought to bind to any negative energies and push them out your home, your aura, or your items. The number one important thing to do when you're smudging is to make sure you have lots of open windows and clear airways. You don't want to smudge your home with all the windows closed because then the negative energies have nowhere to go. That you want to really picture the smoke binding to whatever is affecting your mood, your home, your family. When I first started smudging, there was a residual energy down our basement. I kept hearing this couple arguing over and over again. And it drove me to a metaphysical store and said, what can I do about this haunting in my house that is driving us crazy? And smudge was it. And you must always, though, respect that smudging is a Native American culture. We must respect them and thank them for sharing this with us. You always want to make sure you're getting your sage from an ethically sourced place, preferably even a native reservation straight from the source. That's a great place to go for smudging. There are also many wonderful people, including the Green Witch, who grows her own sage. So you know that's coming from an ethically sourced place. That is one of the most important, and you must always respect the sage and respect the product. There are multiple types of sage. I prefer white sage, but there is blue sage, black sage. They're just different scents, but they all do mainly the same thing. You will see Palo Santo also on the scene. I am getting more and more worried about Palo Santo trees and them being ethically sourced. I have found over years that the quality of the Palo Santo that's being sold right now is very, very low. It barely burns, and I don't use it as much anymore. But if you like Palo Santo, please feel free to get some of that as well. Another way to smudge besides sage is frankincense resin. And this is some of the most powerful stuff you can use. It smells amazing. It's in a lot of perfumes. If you look like even in Clinique or Estee Lauder, you will see this stuff is in those perfumes, which is why they cost a lot of money. Smudging with white sage, very, very affordable. Smudging with frankincense when you're getting ethically sourced high-end frankincense is a very expensive way to go. But I wouldn't recommend the frankincense resin at the mall, because that may have been sourced unethically, and then you're burning something unethical in your home. I can't stress that enough. Now, the way to burn white sage is you have a bundle like this most of the time. You want to take your lighter. You want to keep your lighter handy because the sage will go out sometimes. But you just start to light it here. I recommend watching the meditation class as well, because you're going to want to get grounded first. You're going to want to meditate. You're going to want to breathe and get yourself in the right space, in a more positive space. And the way you do it isn't as important as the intention you set while doing it. If your intention is to release negative energy from your home, to keep your family safe from these lower vibrational energies, that's all you really have to say. A very important part too is getting into closets, into every corner of the home as much as you can, and keeping the windows open until all the smoke has gone. There will be a lingering scent. If you have any older people or any babies in the home who have respiratory, you may want to smudge when they are not around. I, as a light worker who does energy work in my home every day, I smudge every day Before, when I wasn't doing energy work every day in my home, I would smudge about once a week. It became a part of my house cleaning routine. So I would clean the house, then smudge, then do the floors, because this stuff does get messy. And the easiest way is to get one of these big, beautiful turkey feathers. Again, another ethically sourced thing that you can get. And you just push the smoke around and say, please bind to any negative energies in my home and release them. You can do it for your aura. You can do it on your body. You can go through your crown chakra and all around you. As long as you get a nice plummet of smoke to go around. And again, if you have people with respiratory issues, I would have them leave the home. This is not for everyone, but it is absolutely essential for any energy worker. In between readings, I will also use this white sage to smudge my tarot cards. To get, even if I had the most high vibrational client with the cards, smudging their energy out so that the next client can get their reading without the person before them affecting them whatsoever. This is the easiest way. Also, when you watch the crystals, you can put your tarot cards on a piece of selenite as well. And you want to just make sure if you're cleansing the home that you get into every single little crevice you can. And I'm going to get into the other ways, but you can use blue sage, black sage, yerba sage, whatever sages. They have one sage I really love is a white sage dipped in dragon's blood resin. That is a very powerful smudging tool. That is more for intermediate to advanced. The white smudge with the dragon's blood resin is what I actually use normally when I am cleansing someone else's home. And to people who are hoping to become a spiritual practitioner, do know that you can turn this into a billable skill. I have been paid well to go into people's homes and to cleanse the energy and to get rid of any negative energy. And I provide them with the crystals they need, with the smudging sticks they need, and the tools they need to upkeep. So they get a little learning lesson in that as well. And so the more you learn about this, the more you'll also be able to teach other people how to do it. Now I'm going to get into frankincense. Frankincense is much stronger. Oh, I did meant to say, you can smudge your crystals as well. If you don't have any selenite, or if things have just been a little extra nasty and you want to put them on the selenite and then pick them up, and this ain't going to hurt them, that's for sure. Okay? You can smudge just about anything. I smudge my cell phone, especially if you've gotten into any kind of negative, text fights or anything like that. Smudging the phone, or if you've had an exceptionally difficult client, smudging the phone. Just be very, very careful. You don't want to put too much smoke around your electronics. But everything has energy, and everything absorbs energy. And if something is around something else that has a lot of negative energy, you're going to want to cleanse it. There are times when my daughter has walked in the door and I've just run up to her with this and just smudged her before she could get anywhere near me. She hates it, but I'm her mom and she has to deal with it. And it's quite funny because I knew she was around lower vibrational energy and I didn't want her bringing it into my home. And she has learned to deal with that, and it's become quite funny. Now, frankincense is very, very, very strong. If you know anyone with any scent allergies, I even have my own, sensitivities to scents. You want to use this sparingly. And again, you get what you pay for when you get frankincense. I think I spent almost $100 on this jar of frankincense, because it is very, very high end. The old school way, I'm going to kick it real old school with you guys today. The oldest school way of burning the frankincense is you take these, I did a makeshift little, bowl that I really liked. And I take these sea stones and you stack them. This is the way the tribal people used to burn frankincense back in the day. Now, mind you, coals are very, very dirty. They're very messy. It's coal. It's the same stuff that you're using when you do a barbecue. But you want to get the coals that have these little cups. You can find them on Etsy, Amazon, just about anywhere. And what you're going to do, carefully because coals are dangerous. And again, I implore you to always, fire safety, you never leave this setup alone. You don't leave the room when this is going. But you burn it here, and you'll see it'll start to spark. And you want to just like make sure it gets going, and then you're going to set it down. You're going to be very, very careful. You are not going to move that. I have had some real disasters trying to move this thing around. And we're going to let that burn for a minute, and we're going to let it heat up. Another way to burn any kind of resin, you can see here I have some myrrh, is to take one of these cute little tea candles. Oh, the crystal just fell off it, but that's okay. You take one of these little tea candles, and I'm gonna let that burn for a minute. Also, the alternative to this like archaic rocks system is something much safer like this. However, something like this, you will not get the same plummets of smoke that you would get from the coals directly on there. So this is a cute little doohickey that heats up the ceramic there. And then I'm gonna put a little myrrh on top of here, and that should just heat that up in there. Now this is messy stuff, guys. It really is. Like, look at, this is myrrh. I've got this from an ethical place. Often people will mix the frankincense and myrrh. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this all at once either. The way this is more for demonstration purposes. You're gonna wanna, often what I'll do is I will let the frankincense plummet the house, and then I'll go through with the sage to get into the more smaller crevices, the closets, the things like that. So you're gonna want to be very, very careful placing the frankincense on the coal, because you can see this is a very archaic system. You could even do this outside. I don't always recommend doing this inside. See, and you can see I have tweezers here because you don't want to mess around. The rocks will get very, very hot, and if you touch the rocks, you will get burned. This is for adults only. This is like next level smudging, okay? But you can already see the plumes of smoke coming out. And it has a very distinct smell. If you were a church kid, if you were a Catholic church kid, it may bring back some memories of, the priest walking around with the urn. You can also get those ones that you can walk around with, like I said, but I feel like this is the most effective way to get the most, look at this beautiful smoke. Now, and I don't want to go cuckoo, maluku, because then you may not be able to see me and all you'll see is the smoke, but you can add a lot more of this. And this will billow up and enter into every room of the house. So again, if you have anyone with respiratory issues, you are gonna wanna have them go outside before you smudge. And I would just leave this where it's at, stay in the room with it. You may wanna end up moving around some of the pieces of frankincense and adding more once they start to burn out a lot, but you always wanna make sure that you are keeping a close eye on this. Also what I do, if the smoke is stagnant and it's not going anywhere, I take my turkey feather and I just gently, and this will often get the coal burning a little harder too. And I just love the smell of frankincense. It's actually really good for your skin as well. Some people will put this stuff in their tea and drink it. I will often, and when we go over spiritual baths, I will often take a pure little nugget of frankincense and let it sit in the water because it has a lot of benefits to your skin. Frankincense is an ancient smudging technique used by multiple cultures. Like Palo Santo, the community is worried about sourcing and the effects on Mother Earth, unfortunately, because these trees take thousands of years to make this stuff. And people are buying. And so that's putting pressure to produce. So I use my frankincense very sparingly, or when I've had a particularly rough day of energy work. Or I like to use it when I am doing a healing for myself, or when I'm about to meet with my Reiki master. I like to burn it. It's for me, you know, it's a special thing for me. And that's how I want you to see it too. That this is a way to help empower you and empower the vibe of your whole home. Make sure that lower vibrational energies know what's up, know they can't mess with you. And it really will affect interpersonal relationships because the whole energy of the house. Then now we're getting into sacred space, but that's really what this is. This is creating sacred space. This is a part of it, and it's also a part of protecting my energy workers from any lower vibrational energies and protecting your clients more than anything. You know, especially smudging between readings is incredibly important. If you're a hotline worker, it can get tough because sometimes you're just getting those calls, or if you're at an event, that's when the crystals come in. You can smudge your crystals using the frankincense as well. But just remember, this frankincense is very, very strong, and you can see it's gonna go everywhere, but it's extremely effective. You can also get sage in these little bundles, loose sage. If you ever wanted to burn, you can put a little bit of sage like this on there and mix it with the frankincense, or if you've got your myrrh. I also love dragon's blood resin. I love it so much I ran out before we started taping. But dragon's blood resin, that gets messy though. It reminds me of science class when you do the volcanoes. And it was blub, blub, blub. So, you know, you really don't want to be doing it on anything that you don't, like this bowl for me, I don't care if I get a bunch of gook in it. And so you don't want to choose your fine china to burn your smudging in. And in fact, this is one of the most essential pieces I have, these cast iron little witchy, I'm not even sure what this is called, to be honest with you, but you can find them all over Etsy. And they're often made by handmade craftsmen, metal workers, and things like that. You may even be able to go to your local trade school and go to the metal shop and find a kid to make you one. That would be even cooler. I might do that. But this is essential because the great thing about these cast irons is they will put out your smudge. Number one safety issue is always making sure your smudge is out and put out completely before you walk away. And that's number one, because if you don't completely smudge this stick out or run this coal under some cool water, there's no way to tell that that coal will keep burning. So if you have to, pour a little cold water on the coal to stop it. Smudging, you just got to smush it down, but oftentimes with these sticks, they will just keep burning. And so you really need to press it down, because then you wake up in the morning and your whole smudge stick is gone and you're praying thank you to God that you didn't burn the house down. I promise you, I know from personal experience that can happen. I've been smudging for almost 7 years now, and it is the number one thing that changed my life. It changed my interpersonal relationships with my family, especially my daughter. I was able to eliminate multiple negative energies from a home that was over 100 years old. And I've been invited to multiple people's homes to do the same for them. And I know if you learn about smudging some more, and you've learned a lot through this course, it will benefit you. Safety, safety, safety. But smudging has changed my life, and I know it'll change yours. And I really appreciate you watching this course. Thank you.